Tonight on Joy News Prime, opposition National Democratic Congress sharply criticizes the Electoral Commission's decision to go ahead with the compilation of a new voters register, saying the Commission's posturing could derail the country's democracy.
Whatever my experience has to do with a commission that is credible. Now you are dealing with a commission that has serious credibility deficits. You understand? And so you should expect anything.
It's been a widely held perception that women with multiple sexual partners are more susceptible to contracting cervical cancer. That perception has, however, been challenged.
He stigmatized this idea that it's only people who are promiscuous are the ones who are at risk. Anybody who has had sexual contact is at risk, even if you're with one person.
While a link has been established between cervical cancer and throat cancer.
Anal sex, you get it. If it's oral sex, you will get it. And the virus can even cause cancer of the throat. So it is not limited to women.
The Ghana Health Services are laying fears that coronavirus may find its way into the country.
Systems to sort of prevent entry or be able to surveillance to identify any threat or anybody coming from an affected country so that we are able to prevent the disease from coming into the country.
And coming up in business.
National Insurance Commission justifies implementation of motor insurance database policy.
We had a lot of fake insurances on the market. The public couldn't tell which stickers were genuine. The police couldn't tell which stickers were genuine. So we needed to find a solution.
That comes up in about half an hour. And the wife of a Bank of Ghana driver who is being held in connection with the murder of a restaurant operator in a hotel on New Year's Day has been remanded together with her spouse after a bail application was turned down by a Kumasi court. I'm Israel Lion. Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomlimle here in Accra with digital address GA09925339. Stay tuned in. General Secretary of the Opposition NDC Johnson Essiedu Nketia has lashed out at the Electoral Commission over its decision to go ahead with the compilation of a new voters register despite opposition from civil society organizations and some of the country's political parties. This was after Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Dr. Srebo Kwaku, stated that a meeting of commissioners and directors decided to execute the plan, starting with the opening of the register from April 2020. This is in spite of a directive by the EC's own eminent advisory committee for the commission to consult further.
If you listen to the civil society organization, they told you about how procurement has begun without proper advertisement way back in 2018. So if some procurement has begun way back in 2018, what type of procurement is going on now? Because there's another procurement that is ongoing now, and luckily for us, the entity tender committee of the Electoral Commission has representation from Parliament. Okay. So that one, we are in a position to track what is happening. And from the information we have, after tenders have been opened, technical evaluation has happened. And then the technical evaluation threw up a certain, company that is on top. And then the chairperson now comes around and says he wouldn't agree. So they have to massage the report to get a different company to emerge, which has been done. And because of that, the person who is chairing the technical committee, who happens to be a commissioner, has washed his hands off the procurement process and has communicated to the chairperson that they will have nothing to do with the process.
No, this is an allegation you're making.
No, that one, I'm telling you that we know what is there.
Accusing the EC of manipulating the
whole
No.
Look, they have members of parliament serving on it, and those members of parliament have a duty to brief, you know, the constituents or the political parties they are representing. So I'm telling you the brief I have had. So if something like that has happened, and then people are talking about procurement having been completed, and then equipment having been bought, training having been done, and then we are able to proceed to date of registration, you don't know whom to believe. So I have always maintained that the problem we have getting into this election is not about a register that is not credible. It is about a commission that is not credible. Whatever my experience is has to do with a commission that is credible. Now you are dealing with a commission that has serious credibility deficits. You understand? And so you should expect anything.
The inter-party resistance against the new voters register has since accused the EC of bad faith. Spokesperson of the group, Bernard Mona, says they will continue a series of actions to further drum home the need for the EC to beat a retreat.
I think that there is an issue of credibility deficit. It is not about people speaking temporarily and they don't seem to agree. It's about their constitution and their credibility, their preparedness to speak and then act by their words. The people who want a government by themselves, government by the people, of the people, for the people, they will fight and ensure that their side of the social contract will be the government side of the social contract will be delivered. Don't let us sit down to allow a certain group of people, for whatever motives they have, to derail this democracy.
Aside the political parties, up to 18 civil society organizations also raised separate concerns and combined their forces to power pressure on the Electoral Commission to back down. Vice President of Imani Ghana, Kofi Bentil, has also alleged that the EC's IT consultants are also the vendors.
What the CSO sought to do was to understand the EC from the EC's own point of view. That is why, even after we had assessed the situation ourselves and come to a certain conclusion, we submitted ourselves for that meeting where we were hoping that the EC would convince us. And unfortunately, the EC failed to convince us. Now, after that meeting, a lot more has happened, and honestly, it is even more troubling. We are also hearing the position of the EC that regardless of what the facts are, and that's very important, regardless of what the facts are, they were going to go ahead and just spend $100 million doing something which they have not been able to defend. Now, that is very worrying. Now, there are other moves, and again, I differentiate between what the CSOs are doing, what the political parties are doing. There are other moves regarding the legality of this. Okay, there are a number of people, okay, who are looking whether the EC even has the legal right to do so. And this is different from what the political parties are contemplating in terms of their court action. We believe that we may have a case to raise that the EC does not even have the legal right. The law does not back the EC doing what it is doing. Now, if the EC decides that it is absolutely not going to listen to anybody, even if the person has any sense or any facts or any kind of argument against it, then they leave everybody with very little choice than to resort to the courts. It is important also to note that the EC itself, okay, has done as an institution in 2016 an objective analysis of its system. When the EC audited its system in 2016, what was counseled was the continuation of the updating of the system, and that has been done year on year.
Well, my colleague Parker Will Singh has reached the EC on these allegations, and he joins me in the studio to tell us more. Now, Parker, what has the EC had to say in response to these allegations that the IT consultants and the vendors are one and the same?
Well, Israel, our sources at the Electoral Commission were quite blunt that what Mr. Kofi Bentil is saying is not true. In fact, they are going through the process. In fact, the EC has been able to secure a vendor to manage the data system. And that is Persol. That is already in the news that we know. So they are done with that process. Now, with the supply of the biometric equipment, that is the BVDs and the BVRs, they are yet to conclude the process.
All right.
Now, 4 vendors are vying for that position. They are done with what the EC calls the technical process, where they came to demonstrate the equipment, how robust it is, how efficient it can be, and how it can serve the people. Now they are done with that. Now they are going through the final process, which is the financial process as well. So now they are looking at, in terms of prices, as to which one is less costly than the other. Then they will know how to go about. So by the end of next week, according to our source, he tells us that the EC will conclude with the process and they will select a vendor to supply the BVDs, that is the biometric equipment. So it is not true that Mr. Kofi Bentil, what he's saying, that the IT consultant is the same person being the vendor for the process.
Right, and one of the other issues which has come up in the last few hours is that the Eminent Advisory Committee is to meet IPAC and the Electoral Commission on Thursday, which is something that the General Secretary of the NDC has been reacting to. But I'd like to share that statement from the Eminent Persons Advisory Committee with you. It says the Eminent Advisory Committee will meet with the Electoral Commission and the Inter-Party Advisory Committee as earlier indicated. The meeting will seek to engage with the Inter-Party Advisory Committee on the Electoral Commission's plan to compile a new voters register ahead of the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. The meeting will be held on Thursday, January 30, 2020. And this is signed by Mrs. Silviano, who's the Acting Director of Public Affairs at the Electoral Commission.
Now, check the second paragraph. The second paragraph of the statement is that they are seeking to engage the political parties. And the NDC clearly is not happy with the whole process.
Because they feel that it appears, or the EC appears to already concluded that they're going to go ahead with this, and so they don't find the need for consultation.
Exactly. In fact, when they issued the first statement, that was somewhere last week, the NDC categorically told us that they were going to another invitation. And you remember when they went to Kumasi to do the demonstration, the chairman of the party, Samuel Fosampo, clearly said that they were going to suspend the activities and wait for this particular meeting and take a decision after the meeting.
Right.
And unfortunately, as they suspended their processes and are waiting for the meeting, the EC comes out to say that they're going ahead with the compilation of the new voters register. So when I spoke to Johnson Asedi Nketia, being the General Secretary of the NDC, he says that the NDC, by hopefully Monday, Tuesday, will have a meeting and review their position on this matter as to whether to honor this invitation or not, because at the end of the day, the EC has taken its position and there's no need for any further engagement. They are only going to tell them that this is why we are going ahead and take it or leave it. We are done. That's it.
Thank you very much, Kwesi Parker Wilson, bringing us that update there. Now, in other news, the Ghana Health Service is allaying fears the coronavirus in China may find its way into the country. Director General Dr. Patrick Abwaje said stringent measures have been put in place, especially at the country's entry points, to screen passengers. He also added a clinical health plan has been developed to manage the virus should it enter Ghana, with the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research on standby to test and diagnose.
Not declared as a public health emergency, but we put in systems to sort of prevent entry or be able to surveillance to identify any threat or anybody coming from an affected country so that we are able to prevent the disease from coming into the country. The Public Health Emergency Management Committee, which currently exists at the national, regional and district level, have been alerted to be ready. Yesterday, the National Technical Committee, Coordinating Committee also met to discuss the situation and confirm measures put in by the Public Health Division and, of course, the Ghana Health Service in general. We have developed a case definition because you cannot just quarantine anybody or speak to anybody. What we do is that any person who has a temperature of 38 degrees or more, has a history of fever and having difficulty with breathing, and most difficulty breathing, cough, etc., and in the last 14 days before the symptoms has had a history of travel to China or any of the affected countries. And also, if that person, even they may not have traveled there, but has come in contact with somebody who has returned from that, that will be a case that we need to assess and test and make sure that we are not dealing with that condition. We have sensitized all our port health staff so that they will know exactly what to do and where to refer them to. The hospitals are also ready to manage. We have spoken to the laboratory, the Noguchi Memorial Institute of Medical Research.
26 people have so far died from the disease, with 830 cases confirmed so far in China, where the lockdown measures are increasing across the Hubei province to try to control the spread. Travel restrictions have been expanded to 13 cities, with a total of 36 million people affected. We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime, but when we come back, we'll be speaking with a Ghanaian PhD student in the province where badly... Welcome back to Joy News Prime. We're returning to our story on the coronavirus. 26 people have so far died from the disease, with 830 cases confirmed so far in China, where the lockdown measures are increasing across the Hubei province to try to control the spread. Travel restrictions have been expanded to 13 cities, with a total of 36 million people affected. Wuhan, where the outbreak began, is rapidly building a new hospital. The city, home to around 11 million people, is struggling to cope with the increasing number of patients. We have on Skype a Ghanaian PhD student in Wuhan, Michael Adani, who will be sharing with us how he and other residents are coping. Thank you very much for making time to speak with us. Now, what does it mean to be under a lockdown in the city where you are?
In the beginning, we were quite in mode because we were not prepared. But after we realized the measures the authorities have put in place, now situations are returned to normality. Just that we find it difficult to access basic necessities such as food and toiletries and all.
Is there information in the media on what is happening as far as this lockdown is concerned?
Yeah, there are a lot of information going on. And the authorities, especially the authorities, keep on updating us on various measures on how to stay out of harm's way, prevent other infections. And in fact, the government is also being supportive. For instance, we are providing free masks. Even this evening also they gave us free tea, because one of the measures to stay hydrated by drinking water and other liquids and time.
And what are the chances, Michael, of one contracting the disease for someone like you?
Right now, we know that there are a lot of measures in place. We have been advised to stay indoors as much as possible and to also adapt some preventive measures by wearing masks. So I would say that the chances are very slim. And the other fear is that right now we don't know how the virus is being spreading around. But generally, we are indoors. You hardly see anybody speak.
All right, thank you very much. Michael Adani, he's a Ghanaian PhD student in Wuhan, China, bringing us that update there from China. The widely held view that promiscuous women are more susceptible to cervical cancer has been described as untrue. According to a renowned British-based Ghanaian gynecologist, women who stay faithful to their partners face the same risk of contracting the disease. She was speaking with Joy News at the National Cervical Cancer Forum organized on Friday under the auspices of the Second Lady Samira Bawumia. Joy News' PhD Nanaya Safo has more in the following report.
Cervical cancer is the second leading medical cause of death for Ghanaian women, with as many as 3,000 people diagnosed annually. It is caused by the human papillomavirus, or HPV, which is sexually transmitted. Many believe the best of lifestyle habits in keeping single partners reduces risk of contraction. But UK-based Ghanaian gynecologist Dr. Theodora Pepra disagrees.
Destigmatize this idea that it's only people who are promiscuous or have a lot of babies or whatever are the ones who are at risk. Anybody who has had sexual contact is at risk. Even if you're with one person, it needs to be destigmatized, because we know that everybody is at risk, because at the same time 80% of women who are in the sex child population would have had the HPV at some time or another. So if you're saying that, are you saying that 80% of us are promiscuous? Absolutely not. This is a really important message. Otherwise, it can break up relationships.
The wife of the Vice President, Samira Baumia, whose office put together the event in collaboration with the Ghana Health Service and other partners, said it was time for every Ghanaian to be involved in raising awareness.
I'd like to commend Sir Kwame Boateng of Multimedia for the great work he's done on cervical cancer and all the other media houses. No more Ghanaians should die from this disease. Let us align our efforts using our expertise, our voices, our persuasive power, our knowledge to advance this important cause. We can prevent cervical cancer if we all work together, and the time is now.
Deputy Minister of Health Alex Aban, who spoke at the forum, expressed plans of stretching the fight of cervical cancer beyond January 2020.
I therefore call on the public health team to sustain the momentum of the cervical cancer awareness beyond the month of January, to make it an all-year-round campaign with tangible deliverables.
The event also saw the unveiling of the 2020 Cervical Cancer Ambassadors, astute media women dedicated to reaching every nook and cranny of the country with the good news of early screenings and signs to look out for.
I'm here with the newly appointed Cervical Ambassadors for 2020, Mama V. Owusu-Abuaje of Joy News and Ms. Efia Tamaklo of Adom TV. First of all, congratulations, ladies.
Thank you.
What should we expect of you in the coming days?
Well, for me, because I'm co-host of the AM show, my viewers really should expect conversations every day on the AM show. The point is, if we can get at least one person to screen a day or, within a week, it would go a long way to help, because the figures are really scary. So more conversation to create the awareness so we can get a lot more people to screen.
Yes, I'll use my platform Nkwanya on Adom TV, then Yinsenia War on Adom FM to talk about the issue, bring the people who know the disease so that people will be aware of it, because seriously it's killing women and I can't sit there for people to die of a preventable disease.
A woman dies of cervical cancer in the world every 2 minutes. Get screened. Tell a friend to tell another. Cervical cancer is real. Hashtag get screened now. PSC Nana Yaosafo, Joy News.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break to bring you business, but still ahead in the bulletin. We're not done with cervical cancer yet, because a link has been established between cervical cancer and throat cancer.
Anal sex, you get it. If it's oral sex, you will get it. And the virus can even cause cancer of the throat. So it is not limited to women.
Do stay tuned. We have that coming up, as well as this. It's time for business, and Sandra Fenno has joined me.
Hello, Israel. Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday. You're looking elegant today.
Thank you very much. So are you?
Okay.
Yeah, a lot to talk about in business.
All right.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Sandra Esenamapeno. I'm here for business. Calls of employees of beverage manufacturing and water bottling company Coca-Cola Ghana demonstrated today to register their displeasure of news that the managing director, Seth Eduban, has been relieved of his post. According to report, Mr. Eduban was fired by the parent company, Equatorial Guinea. Union Chairman Abdullahi Sani Mohammed spoke to Darokwao earlier on Business Live.
That we heard a rumor from somewhere else that our managing director has been sacked or this appointment has been terminated. Fortunately enough, it's like the workers were not happy with the news. For that matter, they tried to agitate. And then through the agitation, like ICU came in and then called us that we see the executives come to their office. So we went there this morning, and it's like we had an engagement with them. And they said, fine, definitely, we will see the one who is in charge of EGCD, that's the WAP representative here. So we went to the WAP office, see the one, our MD. So we engaged them, and then they said, it is true. The news that we heard, it is true that he has been heard.
Do you know why he's being relieved of his position?
No, they said for apparent reason they cannot tell us exactly what happened. It's like it's common between the two of them. They cannot disclose to us. But okay, fine. Then the workers are serious enough. The grounds are not better for the business to go on. If that is the case, then they should rather come and then pronounce the announcement to the workers for them to calm down. So it is like now this they've agreed with MD himself to a certain time. He has accepted the offer to go, and for that matter, what is our beef? Because the person involved has agreed them, and they are now arranging the package for him to sign and then go. So
all right, I just want to understand what exactly or why exactly the union, is unhappy that he's been made to go.
Well, you know, Teteduba is our own, and for that matter, and then for 1.5 years, close to 2 years now, he's joined us with the Coca-Cola, our head of students. I think the workers have fallen in love with him in the style of his working. And then the Coca-Cola, we were down at some point in time, and then he came and has now rejuvenated everything, and then everything's moving on smoothly. And then it's like, so we don't know the reason why he was terminated, but so that is why we are all unhappy, because we are working with him right.
This is just a developing story, and I'm sure we'll get you more updates as to how this unfolds. So, a headline story now. The National Insurance Commission, NIC, has justified the implementation of the new motor insurance database policy. The NIC told Joy Business the implementation began on January 1, 2020, and is aimed at curbing the menace of vehicles with fake motor insurance stickers plying the roads. Commissioner of Insurance Justice Siao Fori has been speaking to Charles Aite in the following report.
We've been interacting with the Commissioner General for the NIC, Justice Siao Fori, on what has necessitated this particular move and how best it could deal with the scourge of fake motor insurance in the country.
We realized that we had a lot of fake insurances on the market. The public couldn't tell which stickers were genuine. The police couldn't tell which stickers were genuine. So we needed to find a solution. We also realized that most insurance companies were also underpricing their policies, and when they do so and there's a claim, legitimate claims, they find it difficult to also pay claims.
To what extent will this initiative help improve the situation, especially when it comes to motor insurance? Justice Siao Fori has been explaining to Joy Business.
So, statistically, we believe that about 40% of the vehicles on our roads are not insured. So, and motor insurance is the biggest line of business so far as general business or general insurance is concerned. So if we are able to actually work on this and do it well, we believe that it will result in a higher insurance penetration.
We've been interacting with the head of operations at the MTTD, in the person of Dr. Samuel Sasu, to help us understand how prepared the police service is ahead of this implementation.
What we are planning now is to make sure that the police officers or the police personnel in the MTTU are well briefed, are well educated about the concept, so that when we enforce, we'll be able to enforce professionally.
We're being told by the NIC that this particular motor insurance database will go a long way to also deal with the matter of undercutting and underpricing among several insurance companies in the country. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
The Council for Technical Vocational Education and Training says it is finalizing documents to compel students from vocational and technical training institutions to undertake an internship program to prepare them for the job market. The policy, when approved, will give legal backing to all vocational and technical school students to embark on a year internship training program. There's more in the following report.
This is the first time Ghana is paying attention to apprenticeship in both the formal and informal sectors of the economy. This policy, according to stakeholders, will give some advantage to the fiscally challenged to benefit from some level of skills training to prepare them for the entrepreneurship venture. Speaking to Joy Business after an engagement between the Ministry of Education and some technical schools, consultant for the policy, Dr. Charles Tay Amwate, noted that this will curb the unavailability of non-skilled working force in the country.
This has been a big issue. Employers are complaining that the reason they are unable to employ many of our youth, even from the universities, is because they don't seem to have the skills they need for the workplace, which then means that the training we offer our students in the schools and doesn't appear to be very relevant in many cases for the job market. And so we are coming up with this policy that will make apprenticeship a requirement for all students, especially those within the technical and vocational education, so that as part of their training within the schools, we still make provision for them to go to industry and acquire skills that they need for the job market.
The workshop is also aimed at briefing stakeholders on the progress of work. According to the Executive Director of the Council of Technical and Vocational Education and Training, Fred Chea Samoa, government is committed to getting the policy ready before the end of year.
Realize that this has gone to a record time. This is not the one that we talked about and we leave it behind. Over 6 months, we have done the various processes, the validation processes, sticking to timelines, and now we have a final draft that is being reviewed by a CODVET board. We're expecting that by March, when the board sits and review the final draft, it will be forwarded to the ministry and onward forward to cabinet for review and approval. So definitely we are in good shape, and we're expecting that hopefully it should be finalized and approved by CODVET by close of year.
The Ghana Industrial Apprenticeship Policy will be implemented by the Ministry of Education in collaboration with industrial sector players. Ibn Sabuti's report for Joy Business.
In other news tonight, local players in the timber industry are calling for a review of the policy on export volumes to save the ailing industry. Details in a compilation of the business news summaries.
Some players in the local wood industry have called on the government to review the volume of timber export to save the ailing local wood industry at the back of the lack of access by domestic lumber traders to legally sourced timber. This development, according to traders at the Sokoban Wood Village in Kumasi, has put many lumber and wood workers out of business, while the price of legally sourced timber continues to rise due to increases in demand resulting from its market scarcity.
Thanks so much for watching. After 8 p.m, I'm back with more business news.
Drama ensued at the Asokwa District Court on Friday when relatives of a restaurant operator who was shot in a hotel room in Kumasi on New Year's Day attempted to attack a couple standing trial for the crime. It took swift intervention by police to restrain the mob from pouncing on Bank of Ghana driver Edwin Ewuku and his wife Belinda over Comfort Owusu's death. The court, meanwhile, refused bail application for the woman who appeared for the first time. My colleague Ohimin Tay of the Security Desk was in court and filed this report.
Second accused, Belinda Ewuku, was arrested on bench warrant after she failed to show up in court at the maiden hearing on January 10, 2020. Counsel for the couple, Benjamin Ando, prayed the packed court to grant her bail since she has cooperated with police investigators. He, however, indicated he was not in a haste to plead same for the husband, Edwin Ewuku, because precious life of a woman had been lost. Mr. Ando said Belinda's bail application was premised on evidence gathered by police, suggesting she came in at the hotel only after the incident had already occurred. He argued the accused person would not interfere, but cooperate with police investigators. That was met with vehement objection by the prosecution, which prayed the court not to grant bail on the premise accused cannot be trusted. The prosecutor argued Belinda, who once feigned bleeding but failed to seek medical attention, attempted to escape to Accra, hence the issuance of bench warrant for her arrest. The court, presided over by Her Worship Rosemary Efiasante, turned the bail application down and subsequently remanded the two into prison custody to reappear on February 7, 2020. It took a swift intervention of police to whisk the accused persons away from violent attack from relatives of the deceased victim, who stormed the court in their numbers. Meanwhile, brother of the deceased victim, Godfred Ousofiye, says the family is satisfied with the process so far. From Kumasi for Joy News, Ohim Interior reporting.
Now, the fight against cervical cancer appears to focus mainly on women and how they could avoid contracting the disease. Experts, however, say men are not totally off the hook. Gynecologist Dr. Hawa Malechi has warned of many complications, including eventual throat cancer that can be contracted through oral sex with infected women. She was speaking exclusively to Joy News on the sidelines of the National Cervical Cancer Forum in Accra.
A virus that is complicated in this cervical cancer is a sexually transmitted virus, meaning that it is shared between men and women, and these days all other new sexual modes that people have. Now, it means also that we've also said that the virus does not affect only the cervix. It affects the vagina, it affects the penis, the scrotal skin, it affects the vulva, that is the outside of the vagina. And it can cause cancer in all these areas. The frequent place is the cervical cancer, and that is where it affects us. When a man gets HPV, he can equally develop penile cancer. So that is why when you talk about the primary prevention, which is the immunization, we are not limiting it to only young girls. We say vaccinate both boys and girls to reduce the load of the HPV virus in the community. Vaginal sex to man-to-woman sex, you can get it. If it's man-to-man, you will get it. If it's anal sex, you get it. If it's oral sex, you will get it. And the virus can even cause cancer of the throat. So it is not limited to women. My message to the men is similar to what we are giving to the women. Prevention, prevention, prevention.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking everybody still ahead in the bulletin. We'll be going again to China to get to find out a bit more about what is happening as far as the coronavirus is concerned. We've also been to the airport to get to see what is happening, the preparations that have been put in place so far by the Ghana Health Service. And Dr. Stephen Akete is in China, and he will be sharing with us what he knows about the coronavirus. So do stay tuned in. Now returning to the earlier story on the coronavirus, the Ghana Port Health at the Kotoka International Airport is assuring no incidence of coronavirus has been reported. It however shows surveillance has been heightened to ensure continuous safety. The head of Port Health at KIA, Gideon Akwe, spoke with my colleague Sheila Tamaklo.
So far here at Kotoka Terminal 3, has there been any suspected cases or have you had any issues so far here at the Terminal 3?
No, there's no suspected case as at now.
So for now, though, what are the protocols in place to check the passengers that are coming in to ensure that we don't have any incidences?
We have some flights who normally touch those areas on a daily basis. You know now Ghanaians, everybody want to go to China, and the Chinese people are also trooping to Ghana. So When they come, we have the health declaration form. This is the form. We give to all the travelers or the passengers. We give to the travelers or the passengers to fill at the upper arrival before getting down to the screening points. We have thermal scanners. So after filling the form, when you go to where the thermal scanner is, the thermal scanner will pick your temperature. When your temperature is above the threshold, that is, when it is above 37.5, we have a light in the thermal scanner. It will show red. So when it shows red, quickly we have an officer who will politely ask you to get aside the queue. The officer will interview you. Then we use this non-contact thermometer to re-check your temperature again. If still it is above the threshold, we have F-team here. We have the Port Health, airport clinic, and the ambulance. So quickly we have to inform the airport clinic, the ambulance. Then we also have to inform the International Health Regulations focal person, because that person is representing the Ghana Health Service and the Ministry of Health as a whole. Then from there, they will take the case to RAGE or to Tema General Hospital. But so far, we don't have a case.
Okay, so you mentioned RAGE and Tema General Hospital. Why these particular hospitals specifically?
You know, we have people who have been trained for such cases, to manage such cases. So it is better we get specialized areas so that those people will be able to manage the cases very well.
Right, so we're going back to China to speak with Dr. Stephen Akete. He's a Ghanaian medical practitioner in China, and he joins us via Skype. Thank you very much, Dr. Akete. Now, you have heard the Director of Port Health and talking about the measures we have put in place here in Ghana and at the Kotoka International Airport. Are we on track?
Good afternoon to the viewers. I think we are currently on track. One thing we failed to mention was that somebody coming with a virus in may be in the incubation period. So that person may not be manifesting those symptoms. I think something they should take seriously is anybody that comes in the country with flu, that person should be isolated and a check should be run on that person.
So essentially what you're saying is that it is very well possible that we're going to have somebody come through the airport and we can't detect.
Yes, it's possible. So if you really look at how the Chinese have gone through this, they take the surveillance with all those who have flu when they got a suspected case. So they then ran flu patients and they were able to pick those who have this coronavirus infection.
What should we be doing at the airport? Or we should just give up and say we can't really dictate, and so we should just allow anybody at all to come in?
I think so far so good. The Port Health people are doing a good job. They just have to protect themselves. Wearing of the face masks, that's the N95 mask, and also they have to put on their the temperature check is good, but I'll recommend that all those coming in from infectious states like China, anybody with flu should be isolated, a test run on that person.
Now, I just want to get this clear. From what you're telling us and from what we know, you can actually be incubating the virus without anybody getting to know for a while. So you may come in without a flu and yet you may have the virus. So what can we do? It appears we're helpless when it comes to this.
Now you should know that the coronavirus infection it's also dependent on your immune system. Yeah, so if you have a very strong, viral disease are just prone to, and so how strong your immune system to determine how the virus will be able to take charge of your body or not. But within 14 days, there should be a full clear of the disease. Yeah, yes. But nonetheless, I think despite the fever is a major symptom. Fever is a major symptom. The flu-like symptoms, all the flu-like symptoms. I think so far the port is doing well. My main concern is about health workers at the port. They need to protect themselves with the face masks and the gloves.
So if they're protecting themselves, they are going to be safe. But if people make it through the port and, you know, interact with the rest of the population and they have the virus, what are we supposed to do?
But Israel, you know, you can't isolate everybody coming from China. WHO has already made it known it's safe for people to have bilateral trade with two countries, China and any other country. But I just advise Ghanaians to be on the watch out. They shouldn't go to overcrowded places. A lot of people who have traveled to such endemic areas. Yeah, they should always have their face masks in. Yeah. Drink a lot of water, exercise. They should eat food that is raw food. And I advise that those who have plans coming to China now should hold on to it for a bit till this is solved. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
The Chinese are really, and they have it under control.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Stephen Akete. Dr. Stephen Akete is in China, is a medical practitioner, Ghanaian medical practitioner in China, and he was giving us that update as to what we should do as far as the coronavirus is concerned. Now, Deputy Managing Director in charge of Finance and Administration at Intercity STC Coaches Limited says speed limiters or governors on buses are one of the effective ways of reducing road crashes. Nana Ejubian Ponsanote says all buses owned by the company have speed limiters which do not allow drivers to go beyond 100 kilometers per hour. In an interview with Joy News as part of our campaign Arrive Alive to reduce the carnage on Ghana's roads, Madam Note said STC drivers, irrespective of their qualifications and experience, go through at least 1 month mandatory training at the company's driving school before starting work. These and many others, she says, have contributed to their success story of avoiding accidents involving STC buses.
For STC, with our long hauls, we always have a second driver. So there's a spare driver who should take over in times where the driver is actually tired. So with us, I mean, our drivers are human as well, but when fatigue sets in, you're supposed to stop for the second driver to take over.
A lot of people have pointed to STC as the reference point when it comes to safety on our roads. What is the secret of STC, and how are you able to keep your drivers, in check? What mechanisms have you put in place to ensure
Once you come, your application, which comes with your license, have a proof of your license, then you actually go through rigorous training. At our training school, we have an ultra-modern training school, which I will take you there from here. Go to our training school. We have simulators. We have experienced trainers at the training school. I think the training is about a month. Our buses also have the speed governors. You cannot go more than 100 kilometers per hour, even if you try to. Whoa. So that's something that, STC does to ensure the safety, of our drivers and our passengers.
A lot of calls about dualizing, our roads. There are many who have raised concerns about the single lanes. They're saying that we can reduce head-on collisions if we dualize our roads, because then you didn't have another driver veering into the lane of an oncoming vehicle. Some of them have mentioned to us that road markings are a bit of a problem, and it contributes to the crashes that we experience. What do you make of that suggestion?
If you ask me, I would say I do agree with the dualization of our roads, but we need to ensure that our roads are duly marked, because that helps a whole lot. Sometimes at night, even when visibility is poor, you drive, following the lines that you see. So I am for dualization of the road and the road marking.
Aside from the safety measures put in place here at the State Transport Company, it also has a very rigorous maintenance regime. In this big workshop, all vehicles that travel outside the Greater Accra region come back here for them to go through checks before they hit the road. Again, I've been speaking to the Deputy Manager of Technical Services and the workshop manager here at STC.
Yes, what happens is that after every trip, the buses are supposed to be to the workshop, and then we do some kind of routine checks to see whether when they went on the journey, they had certain challenges. Sometimes the drivers report challenges. So they bring those challenges here. We make sure we work on them before they get back on the road. And that has always been, yeah. When it comes back, we have to check whether the tires are in good condition, if all the systems on the bus is in good condition. Obviously, when it's on the road, you hardly hear of crashes.
Commuters on the Ofankor and Swam Road are calling on authorities to fix the deteriorating guardrails that line the stretch to prevent accidents. According to residents and drivers, numerous complaints about the poor state of the facility on the stretch is falling on deaf ears. They fear the weakened structure as a result of previous crashes is a ticking time bomb. There's more in the following report by Kenneth Awoche, Dakon and Michael Wikia.
The year 2020 for some Ghanaians got off to one of the deadliest starts. The crash at Dompasi last week claimed 34 lives, leaving many others injured, maimed and orphaned. Breadwinners and loved ones lost in an instant. It is 11:45 a.m. as the Ofankor barrier in the Ganwest district of the Greater Accra region. Amid the heat and the slow traffic, one cannot help but notice the faulty nature of the guardrails that flank the stretch. These components are supposed to secure the edge of a road which happens to be on a higher ground to prevent vehicles from falling off. But the mangled metals bear evidence of countless crashes over the years, which the drivers are clearly not oblivious to.
Those in charge always ply this route, but they ignore it. It is unfortunate these rails constructed with taxpayers' money would be allowed to suffer these damages.
The 17.4-kilometer Ofankor and Sound two-lane dual carriageway was inaugurated in June 2006 as part of the Accra-Kumasi Highway. The road connects communities such as Pokwase, Amasaman and Sapeman to the central business district of Accra. But at portions of these rusted rails on the 20-meter-long flyover bridge over a railway line in the area are what seem to be causing drivers' worst fears. Samuel Awet and Kwesi Sapong are cab drivers who ply the route daily.
There was an accident here 3 days ago involving a 40-footer articulated truck. It rammed into and broke the guardrails. That's the only thing that prevented the vehicle from fully crashing into the ditch.
The situation is even worse for us drivers who handle smaller cars. The least miscalculation topples our vehicles.
At the Jontai Junction, residents say they bent a portion of these metals to aid in crossing the road since there was no footbridge to serve that purpose.
It's very dangerous, and when you are crossing and a car is coming with a speed, it's dangerous to you, a human being crossing. We don't have to wait for something bad to happen before we do something about it. Once we have seen it spoiling, we have to do something about it. So we are appealing to government to come and do something about it.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, in his presentation of a 2020 budget statement, reiterated government's commitment to focus on roads. For commuters along this stretch, a deliberate effort to improve the Ofankor and Sawem route will be one that they will look out for. These road users say they are not willing to sit unconcerned while Ghanaians increasingly become statistics. in bloodshed.
Parents of the Achimota Preparatory School are vying to resist with their blood what they describe as a planned takeover of the school by the Ghana Education Service. At a news conference in Accra, Chairman of the Parents Teacher Association, Henry Chum, called on the Ministry of Education and all students to intervene and avert imminent clashes on Monday, January 27, which is the date for the purported takeover of the school, which they say is not a public institution.
Greater Accra Region Director of Education, Monica Ankra, in a signed letter addressed to the head teacher of the Achimota Preparatory and JHS, stated that in furtherance of a meeting held in December last year, the Ghana Education Service was writing to inform authorities of Achimota Preparatory and JHS of the takeover of its premises from 27th January 2020. The letter, dated December 27, 2019, stated, parents are to be informed that personnel from the Ghana Education Service shall be posted to the school. The letter also stated there is no need for any pupil or student to be withdrawn from the school. The concluding part of the letter added, quote, all government policies applicable to public schools shall be applied to the management of the school. But parents of the institution are suspicious. They believe it is a clandestine move by the Ghana Education Service to take over the institution, which they say is not a public school.
And it's not going to be easy, because if it's the military, they couldn't find it easy. That day, some of us will put our life on danger. I'm ready to die for this school. Because in 1984, I couldn't step here. I was eager for my sister's daughter to attend here. They said no. Today, this school is performing better, and you want to collapse it. If Monday, we'll be here. They should come and kill us.
I brought my baby number 1 here. And when I saw that he was doing well, that's why I brought the other 2. So if you come and then you tell me, say, you want government to take over. When I've seen government school around, and normally here, teachers are sitting there selling a condensed in class, condensed toffee. They'll sell it to the students instead of teaching the students. You see them walking about by heart. When you come here, all the schools around, and you see Achimota Preparatory School kid, you know this kid is from Achimota Preparatory School. Without his uniform, you even identify, say, this is Achimota Preparatory School kid. And we have 35 children in a class here. You want to bring other children, take over and bring other children, so that's 75 in a class. Why?
My parents, and I have 3 children in the school. We are concerned about the takeover of the school because, to be honest, we have done a lot to maintain the school from our parents, from our resources, from our own sweat and toil. If the government wants to take over the school, I think the government has the right procedure to come to the people who manage the school for us to take over the school. But to just come and take over like you are bullying us, we think it's not fair.
Yes, Chairman of the Parents Teacher Association of the school, Henry Chum, calling for the intervention of the Education Minister. He fears there could be clashes next week Monday, the date for the purported takeover.
That's it. I'm Israel Lai. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good night.